Well, campers. Fancy seeing you lot here. How are you? Hope everything is going well. I'm back at this time of the night on a Thursday only, 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So it's 8 p.m. in Brizzy, 10 a.m. over in the UK. God knows what it is over in Canada. Gang, it's Andy here with an Ask Andy Thursday night live Q&A. And this is exactly what I wanted to do with all of those other ones that we did in that second lockdown. But we're just going to have it really concentrated into one show where I'm going to hopefully smash out a whole load of answers to a whole load of issues that you guys may have been facing in real estate land over the past week. How has everyone's week been, actually? First things first, let's not break with tradition. First things first, I want to know, how is everybody? I've not had a chance to ask it for a little while. Out of 10, how is everybody tracking? Look, I'm not going to lie, it's been an interesting time in my world. Obviously, Victoria, auctions reopened, so I'm a couple of weekends into getting the gavel back in my hand, which is a massive relief, I've got to say. Interestingly, though, it's kind of strange, and I was chatting to my mental PT about this, and she concurred with me that lots and lots of people are having this sort of issue, that there's lots of people that feel that since we've been out of lockdown, there's this greater anxiety around wanting to make up for lost time, wanting to play catch up, fear of loss, fear of the readjustment back to normality. Right? I copped a little bit of anxiety. I've got to be straight. Everyone's got back into the game, and all of a sudden my game hadn't really started yet because I had to wait for my auctions to get going. So it was a bit of an interesting little sort of week to 10 days there, I've got to say. But let me know how you are going, gang. Out of 10. In the comment section below as we move through the day. Paul, good to see you, my friend. 8 out of 10 for Paul on LinkedIn. Nice to have you on board, my man. Make sure you give me your rating out of 10. I reckon I'm probably tracking. Now I'm probably tracking around about an 8, 7 or 8, I reckon. Big thank you, by the way. I'm off to go see the. I'm off to go see the block. Which should be pretty cool, down there in Brighton on Saturday. So thank you very much to Brendan Walker, Pete Kakos, the agency, Jesse Rayburn, who's going to meet us down there, which should be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to doing that on the weekend after my auctions. AB just absolutely annihilated a midweek auction. Absolutely smashed it out of the park, AB. Well done to you, sir. 9.5 out of 10. I totally understand why. Right, here's one thing. Just while I've got my own little soapbox, here's one thing. Why is it, right? We've just gone through probably the biggest shake-up the world has ever seen, right? The world has ever seen. And yet, the doors have been reopened to real estate, and we've started already going back to old habits and old ways and old behaviors. Why are we doing it? Purely from an auctioneering point of view, I'm just going to stick in my wheelhouse for a second here. Why is it that everybody is insisting on doing auctions on a Saturday again, when buyers quite clearly buy, Monday, Sunday through Friday as well? It's a really interesting one that sort of gets to me a little bit, because at the minute in Victoria, we've still got restrictions on how many people we can have and all that sort of stuff. It would have perhaps made sense to sort of spread them out a little bit, so you've got a chance to actually do your best with them, as opposed to, having your resources stretched a little bit. I don't know. But just generally, gang, ultimately, if buyers want to buy the place, they will turn up. In New Zealand, they have them at like Monday lunchtime and Tuesday lunchtime and all that sort of stuff, right? It's all big. So I don't quite understand why, especially down here in Vic, we insist on doing everything on a Saturday, when we've got so much other stuff to be doing as well. And buyers will turn up if you ask them to turn up. I did an auction on a Monday night, 7 o'clock in the pouring rain in Coburg for an owner-seller, So it was a vendor that was selling their own place. She's one of the only ones that's paid attention to us. Monday night, 7 p.m, went 167k over reserve. It's not rocket science, gang. You want to give yourself a chance of getting more people that want to actually pay attention to you. Anyway, Mr. Pattinson, solid 9 out of 10. How are you doing, Mr. Reed? Stephen Patterson, bless him. He was a guy that I used to work with at St James's Park, so Newcastle United's home ground, in the bar team, in the bar team down there, and we had loads of bars to run. Did loads of hours together, actually, me and Mr. Pattinson. So, sir, I hope you're going well up there in Newcastle. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Now then, campers, a couple of questions that have been sent through. And like I said, this is a live Q&A. So if you do have any questions that you want to ask about real estate, and it could be any challenge that you're facing, right? Please post it in the comment section and we'll tackle it. There's no such thing as a daft question. There really isn't. And the only one that is daft is the one that you don't ask. I'm designed to be here for the younger agents, the newer agents, the fresh agents who generally, a lot of the time, because of the way that social media tends to work in our space, they tend to be a bit shy in coming forward with questions through fear of getting belittled. Well, this is a no dickhead area, okay? So this is a no dickhead policy in this live Q&A. If you do have a question, it doesn't matter how simple you may think it is. If it needs answering, it needs answering. So ask the questions. That's what I'm here for. And if we can smash out a whole bunch, then we'll crack on. AB, just commenting on, yeah, we're doing auctions Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That's because, my man, one, you are a legend of the game and an absolute one of the godfathers of Victorian auctioneering, I would say. And two, you've got a team that understands how it all works and understands how buyers will rock up if they feel that they will get something that they want. They are not just completely tied down to Saturday. It's not like their banks are closed every other day of the week. Jen, amazing. Give us a score out of 10, please, my dear. Lovely to see you. So I've got a couple of questions in the gun that have been sent through to us, thankfully, which I really do appreciate. But like I said, if you've got any questions about the real estate world that you want to ask, just bang them on the comment section and we'll get through them. And it, like I said, if they're really simple, it could be a simple answer. And that might just have eased some tension in your life that would mean that you can move on. So, first question, lots of potential vendors, but lots of hesitation. How can I convert them now? One of the interesting observations that I've faced, especially since I've been back on the front line in auction land, right, is the fact that, and it's something that I'm not sure we've all really, truly accounted for to a degree. People in every state are getting used, they're getting back into the swing of life again, okay? They're getting back into the swing of seeing their family, seeing their friends, going having a couple of beers, enjoying themselves a little bit, getting back to normal life, being able to go to Bunnings and actually go buy something without paying for it online and then doing a click and collect and all that sort of nonsense, right? They're getting used to life once more. So what I've noticed in auction land, especially for a lot of the teams that I've been working with so far since lockdown was finished, is that are there lots of buyers? Yes. But it's really quite difficult to get that ball of momentum going with an auction because, and I asked a couple of buyers about this after the event, after a couple of the auctions, and they said, look, we just, it sort of all feels a bit weird and a bit strange being out and about again. And that really struck a chord with me. And if you think about it from a vendor's perspective, not only have they got to deal with life and the new normal, without trying to sound too cliche and overuse that type of phrase, they've got to get used to being out and about again, life, running their families. They've got to get some sort of pattern going again within their lives, which is fundamental. These things are fundamental to the running of one's life. So to then go and put your house on the market, that's a massive ask. That's a huge ask. And there are going to be lots and lots of families that have had their lives put on hold And they you know, and part of their plan of attack for this year was to perhaps move to a different area, different schools, upscale, all that sort of stuff, right? I'm one of them, right? We were planning on moving at some point this year, and obviously that's all gone to buggery, but you know, we'll sort it out next year. But that's exactly my point, right? I've got so many more priorities now before I can get to the selling of our property. And I've got to focus on those first few things, right? And that's the same with all vendors. So what I would suggest in this case is if you've got a number of potential vendors that are thinking about doing something or they're looking to do something, instead of trying to get them on right now, work on helping them, if you can, get through their list of stuff that they need to get through in order to get on the market at a time that they feel a bit more comfortable and a bit more confident and a bit more confident in society, let alone your ability as an agent. Pretty critical, that. And if you think about it, and if I'm putting, again, I'll put myself in this position, put myself in the light here, there's a list of stuff that I have to get done before we can even begin to look at selling our place. There's a whole bunch of my contacts that can help me get through that list. So if you think about it, there will be a whole bunch of people within your contact sphere that will be able to help those vendors to get back up and running again. So instead of asking the question and trying to go through the scripts and dialogues to try and get them onto the market, why don't you ask them, outside of selling your property, is there anything else that I can help you with? Because I've got a heck of a lot of contacts in the area across a whole load of industries and trades. I know you were talking about perhaps getting this done to the home and that ready for presentation and all that sort of stuff. How about I help you try and organize a little bit of that? Because ultimately, gang, that's going to help you, one, you know, win some trust, earn some trust with those potential vendors. You're going to give yourself a chance to cement that relationship with them. And you are going to be able to help them to perhaps get ready to go a little bit earlier than planned. Or they're a little bit earlier than they feel that they can now. Now, thinking about, obviously, time of the year and all that sort of jazz, we've got to think a lot differently again, and understand that each state, a lot of people are not going to be able to go anywhere or go on holiday or anything like that. So there's every reason to suggest that people are going to have a bit of a Christmas, maybe have the week off between Christmas and New Year to go see family and all that sort of stuff. Get New Year out of the way. That's going to be a Bobby Dazzler of a New Year's Eve party, I reckon. And then crack straight on with it. They're going to want to crack straight on with it. So I would hasten to suggest that normally auctions in the main don't tend to really get fired up until like the end of February traditionally. I would advise that they are much more likely to be getting going even before Australia Day. I reckon it'll be mid-January. You'll start to see a few more auctions come on than what we're normally accustomed to. So have a think about it and make sure you explain that to your vendors, that we're not working in a normal time frame anymore. People are going to be active through January and through February, meaning that March isn't when the market starts. March could be when people start to take a break because they've been going hard for 6 months, right? 6 to 8 months, depending on the state. So have a think about that and talk to them about the scenario, what is going on. Speak to them about how the interest rates are altering things, but give them the whole picture. Tell them that at auction, I'll tell you now, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, at first it can be a little bit difficult to crack that nut before everyone starts getting involved. But when they do, it's fantastic. So try and stay as calm as you possibly can in that first little period, because it's going to be a little bit of a war of attrition first up. Give them the whole picture so that they feel that they can make a much more informed decision. And of course, in Victoria, there's always that hesitation being put on us by the fact that once bitten, twice shy, right? We came out of lockdown once. What's to say we don't have to go back into it? Look, probability of it happening this time, very, very slim, obviously, because of numbers. But there is that once bitten, twice shy thing going on as well. So empathy is huge here, and ask them, we've got people in our contact sphere. Is there anything that I can do to help outside of just the transaction? Going to go a long way. So, and then look at realistically, if you're in that position with a lot of your potential vendors, you got to be looking at a January rock and roll, at a January auction or a very early February auction. Okay, so think about it like that. Look at how, you know, there's every chance through this Christmas period, there's going to be a lot more people wanting to go and look at property over the Christmas New Year period, because there will still be a lot of workforces that will shut down over that holiday period because of the fact that they've just consistently kept on going, and that will happen. I always used to work through Christmas and New Year anyway, because it's a whole load of people that were in my buyer population that didn't even have the baby Jesus in their religion or in their belief system. So it was like shooting fish in a barrel at the best of times, but now it's going to be that times 10, 15, 20. I can assure you of that. Okay. Next question. How can a young agent overcome experience? How can a young agent overcome experience? Now, this was asked of me by it was an Indian agent that he's an Indian guy. He's just started up in Queensland, and he wanted to ask me how he can beat, because he's got some experienced people in the farm area, that in the patch that he's been given, and he's got that concern of, well, look, one, I'm foreign, and that's pretty much what he said. One, I'm foreign. Two, I'm new to the entire industry. These guys have been in this space for like 8 years or 10 years or whatever it is. And I'm worried that it's going to take me too long to crack that area, and my boss is going to wonder what I'm doing, which is fair enough. And I understand the guy's mentality, worried about wanting to impress his new boss. And that's really, really cool, actually. The big thing, right? Experience absolutely counts, as long as they are portraying that experience in the right way so that it is easy to consume and accept and be happy with as a vendor. As a young agent or as a new agent coming into the space, you can't BS that. You can't get away with saying, oh, look, and I've heard this a lot of times by different trainers, you could say that our team has over 30 years experience. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor will see through that so quickly. And not only that, your competitors, if they catch wind that it's you that said it, they'll say, well, that's great, but he's got like 1 week of it. It just completely ruins your credibility. What you need to do is own the fact that you're new. And in this guy's case, up in Queensland, he needs to own the fact that he's Indian. Now, I don't know about you, but like, I swear, I love it. I love operating and working with Indians. I think they're the best, because they come out of their mother's womb negotiating with the nurse to get a discount on the hospital bill. It is good. To them, a lot of it's to do with the sport of the thing, let alone the transaction. And I enjoy that, because they respect you for getting involved in that respect. But for him, if I was a vendor, that's exactly what I'd want on my team. Someone who is a shark of a negotiator working on my behalf. So he needs to own that. And it's the same with new agents or fresh agents coming off the production line. You need to own the fact that you are new to the space. But don't discount everything you've done up to that point. So, for example, I used to run bars and restaurants and hotels and all that sort of stuff for a living, right? When I used to go to my first early few appraisals, I used to hang my hat on the fact that my ability to communicate with all walks of life has come from the hospitality world, in which I've dealt with literally all walks of life. All right? You know, sometimes crack the joke about the fact that I've looked after the British Nudist Society in all of their glory, literally, over the course of a weekend in a hotel that I was running, for example, right? So you've got skills, you've got inherent abilities that led you to the position you're in. Do not discount them just because of the fact they are not in the game of real estate. Now, here's the other thing that is really critical, and you cannot get around this. You've got to do your homework. Possibly the biggest fail that new or fresh agents make in the space is they are so quick to look for shortcuts. If you are one of those agents that looks for shortcuts, you are going to get found out by the experienced players very, very quickly. If you put in the homework and the time to understand and learn your craft as a salesperson, but more importantly, the area, the market conditions, the numbers around every area in terms of volume of sales, percentage of those, percentage rentals, all that sort of stuff, key demographics in the area, key buyer demographics, all of the statistics that are readily available to all of us. You can't avoid understanding everything that is to do with your farming area. You can't even miss a bus route, to be perfectly honest. If you really want to accelerate the volume of success that you have coming as a new agent, then you have to get your homework done. You need to give your potential vendors zero reason to doubt that you know what you are doing. And that all comes down to getting your homework done. You need to know which shops are where, which schools are where, what their sort of entry requirements are, the nearest pharmacy, the doctors, any specialists, any physios. Like I said, bus routes, tram routes, all of those intricate things that show these potential vendors that you inherently know the area. If you aren't prepared to do that, then you're just going to have to wait a few years until you stumble across these lessons for yourself. It ain't a shortcut to do your homework. It's just the fact that hardly anyone does it, and people just rely on the years of experience to get used to it all, right? Pick up the goddamn phone and speak to people that are in the game, that have been in the game for a while. Ask them questions. You do that, you will potentially help. It will help you to avoid mistakes that some of those people made. Ask them that question. What's been some of the biggest mistakes you've made in the space? What's some of the biggest mistakes you've made at listing presentations? I never got asked that once by any agents that came into our shop. It's one of the first questions I'll be asking. Because if they'll tell you some of the real easy, simple mistakes that are easy to avoid if you are aware of them. So ask questions and get your goddamn homework done on your area. Because no one's going to spoon feed you. Not in this space and not after everything that's gone on. There's going to be no spoon feeding anymore. For those people that have been hanging on to the coattails of a couple of the lead agents and picking up scraps in offices and all that sort of jazz, there's been that much talk about restructuring. You ain't going to last. So I'm telling you, pull your finger out your bottom and get your homework done. There's no way around it. I'm telling you now, once you've got your homework done, the game all of a sudden becomes a lot more clear. Those experienced agents that have got a way higher probability of taking a couple of these listing presentations for granted because they've done so many. You go in there with a new energy that is only yours. They're not new to the space. You are. Own that as a positive. That you want to drive results as well as you possibly can. The only way for you to build your profile is to get better results than any of your competitors. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, that is going to drive me to succeed. Let alone the fact that it's your biggest asset. I need this. I need to make sure that I do a better job than the next guy or gal. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a career. And I want to have a career. There is no harm in being transparent about that. I always used to talk about business stuff. When it came to commission, I'd say, look, gang, at the end of the day, we've still got bills to pay and all that sort of stuff. And ultimately, I need to make sure that my time is being well spent from a financial point of view to justify being away from my kids. I've got no harm in admitting that. Own who you are and stop looking at the things that you haven't got. You ain't got them. And focus on the things that you have got and can obtain easily, like your knowledge of the area and all that sort of stuff. All right, my friends. So thanks ever so much for tuning in. That is it for tonight. I'm going to keep it short and sharp and sweet, to the point, plenty of energy so that you guys can go rock and roll into your weekend full of beans. If you've got any questions, if you've got any issues, you've got any concerns, you've got any challenges, DM me. You can send me an SMS to 0451 085 998. I'll tackle them every Thursday, 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Time, And remember, look, if you can't watch the show live, which is understandable, then it's going to be on my feed the entire time. So still ask your questions, even if you're not going to be able to be here on the night. All right? Because I'll get through them and I'll tag you in them or I'll send them to you once I've answered your questions. All right, gang? Enjoy the weekend to come. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends now that everybody can. Enjoy all of Victoria now that the Ring of Steel has gone. Gang, stay safe. Stay healthy. Please, 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 please stay happy. All right? Because there is a bit of anxiety kicking around that we feel we need to catch up. Understandable. So if you're feeling the pinch there, reach out to someone. Okay? All right, gang. Love you all. Take care. See you next week. Monday morning, 8:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll do scores from around the grounds, all of the auction results, and we'll have a guest on the show to chat about how they're getting on. All right, my friends, you take care. We'll speak to you soon.